All right. Hello and welcome back to Non-Fictionation, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Angel, and today I have a special story for you guys. Um, I haven't really talked about my background in chemistry much. It's just on my bio, but I studied chemistry in college. I got to do research doing as a chemist actually for 2 years in this program called the DOE Fellows Program. Department of Energy Fellows Program. Um, yeah, I think that's what it was called, DOE Fellows Program or like DOE Fellows Fellowship, one of those two. Yeah, but anyways, it was the Department of Energy in combination, in collaboration with Florida International University, FIU, and they've been doing it since 1995, I believe. And their aim is to focus on remediation efforts, environmental remediation of what, you may ask? Of our nuclear waste in our national laboratories. There were 17 national laboratories created for the Manhattan Project for the atomic bomb. We all know about Los Alamos. So that's where a lot of like my coworkers did their internships at. I worked with PNNL, which is Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. That's in Washington State, in a town called Hanford, which was actually built specifically for the purpose of manufacturing an atomic bomb. It's where 90% of our plutonium stockpile for our nuclear weapons has been made. I think it ceased production of plutonium in like the 90s, late 90s, but I don't really think that might be true. But what I focused on there, and for the 2 years I worked as a chemist in collaboration with them, it was for a project happening there. And it had to do with the contamination of groundwater and purged water, which sits about 200 to 300 feet below the surface. This is also where they, decades ago in the 40s, 50s, 60s, this is where they dug out and put in these containers filled with either both solid and liquid radioactive waste. This is radioactive waste that is a byproduct of plutonium production, uranium enrichment, even though most of that was done at Oak Ridge. We all know that. Interesting fact about Hanford. A lot of people think of Los Alamos when they think about the atomic bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Well, a lot of people don't know this, and in fact, I didn't know this until I started working there. The second bomb, which let me actually look this up real quick. Google.com. Which bomb was dropped on Nagasaki? Fat Man. Okay, so the other one. So Little Boy was manufactured and tested and detonated in Los Alamos, whereas Fat Man was made in Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. So I'm going to show you, where was Fat Man made? The Fat Man atomic bomb was designed and assembled at the Los Alamos laboratory in New Mexico. Okay, I didn't know that part actually. Using plutonium manufactured at the Hanford site in Washington and explosive components built at various other Manhattan Project facilities. I could have sworn they said that they did a test there though. Like that test detonation went off there. Maybe I misunderstand. Hanford engineer works, produced, and processed the plutonium-239 used for the bomb's core. So I'm just going to look up here for you guys. PNNL and plutonium production. I'm going to go to the AI mode because it's just better. Pacific Northwest National Laboratory does not mass produce plutonium. Instead, it serves as the United States' premier research and technology center for plutonium science, historic production, tracking, and nuclear modernization. That's bullshit. I'll show you guys right now. Yeah, it originated in 1965 from the R&D division of the Hanford site. How long did Hanford manufacture plutonium? There we go. Okay, so for 43 years, spanning from 1944 to 1987, during this era, operations expanded. So I guess I was wrong, even though the literature that I read for my research said that it ceased in like 1995. So I'm still gonna stand by that because, bro, I read that shit multiple times. I had to. Um, and okay, so look, February 19th. Oh, actually, this is interesting. I didn't get to do this tour, but I did get to do a tour of the LIGO, which is the gravitational wave detector. Uh, Here, I'm gonna put, what does LIGO stand for? Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory. That's what it stands for. And it was an awesome tour. I'm going to include some pictures here, so just kind of enjoy these before we get to the UFO story, because this is all building up to the UFO story. I promise you guys there's meaning to all of this, so no worries. And here we go with the slideshow. So, I mean, I think I gave like pretty much a good overview of like what I did for research. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't really get to explain. So, what I did was I researched these two specific chemically modified proprietary information. I don't know exactly. I just know the percentages of the atoms that were modified onto it. Sulfur had a big component, but it was modified forms of powdered iron, zero valent iron. And this and so the two primary radionuclides that I was concerned with were, for my research, the contamination I was trying to treat, which was groundwater leakage, which by the way, that was a concern because it was leaking into the Columbia River, which is a humongous river, one of the largest in the nation, spans from Canada all the way down to Oregon, and it was leaking radioactive waste for like over a decade, and cancer rates were going up in the surrounding areas. So this is why these projects exist, and they outsource the science to young people that have a drive to make a difference, and that was us. So, anyways, it basically, this powdered form of iron, you basically literally pump it into this groundwater. I mean, in my test tubes, it was like this. I'll include some pictures now of the work. You can see those bottles. Essentially, that's the groundwater that we reproduced. We reproduced the contents of it, and we had actual soil from Hanford that we mixed in there, and then we introduced the powder to the two different powdered forms of iron, and then one and a control group also, and a few other different. Like there was a few different types of controls. Anyways, we would just measure pH, and I don't want to get too deep into it. Basically, we would measure the reactivity and how much technetium was reacting to bind to these basically the iron complex, the modified iron. Um, yeah, we would focus on like reaction absorption, and then also like absorption and absorption to to the ringfold formation sediment. So I also did like solid analysis using an XRF. Um, it's X-rays that analyze a sample on a small disk and gives you a reading of what not really elements, but what minerals and what molecules are on in your sample. We also did scanning electron microscope analysis. And so yeah, basically this stuff works for a little bit of time, but then it releases back the technetium radionuclide, which has beta radiation emission. And then the uranium, I also worked with uranium, UO3 uranyl oxide, I believe it was, and also treating it with those two powder forms of iron. And then I did my internship at Hanford. I went there in June 25th of 2022, and I lived and worked there on site at the actual Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. We went on base. We had badges. We had like this. We had dosimeters to measure our radiation. We were put up in the Marriott Courtyard Marriott at Richland, Washington. It's called the Tri-Cities area because there's three cities, but they're all like one basically. So it's Richland, Kennewick, and Pasco. So southern Washington. A lot of people might not know this, but Washington State, the Evergreen State, everybody thinks of lush green mountains, right? You know, Mount Rainier, right? The Cascades, the Olympics. Well, let me tell you, half of the state from west coast to east coast, if you're looking at it like that and split it down the middle, half of it to the east is desert. And this is what the government, our government, capitalized on during the Manhattan Project. They seized up that land and made a base on there, just like they did in Los Alamos and Oak Ridge, so on and so forth. So I was just continuing my research there, kind of. My coworker, I'll leave her name out of this. I don't know if she wants to be mentioned, but she was a PhD fellow, or PhD candidate. So she was in the process of like doing her dissertation, and her stuff I think was like on column experiments, like 1 and 2D column analysis. I think it was, yeah, 1D, because it's just like one dimension, one column. Oh my God, what is the name? Anyways, I'm not gonna get too deep into the science. If not, I'll be talking forever. So basically, she and I and a few other people, but they were engineers in different departments. So like one was computers, the other was like mechanical engineering. They were working for contractors, whereas we were working for Pacific Northwest National Laboratory slash the Department of Energy. Actually, the Department of Energy, because my badge literally said like Angel Almaguer, Department of Energy. We weren't allowed to take pictures of it, but I did take a picture of it. I'll see if I can find it and include it here. I'm gonna blur out everything else. So I spent 2 months in Hanford, in Richland. We would work actually not 9 to 5. It would be like 7 to 3 or something like that. Forget. And then we would just go home and enjoy the rest of the day. And because weed's legal there, and I wasn't getting drug tested for this, thank God. I don't know how the other guys did that were working for contractors, but we did not. Oh, and by the way, I was in the subsurface remediation division. I'll show you guys some clips and pictures of that. But anyways, I digress. I've been into the UFO thing since I could conceive of it. At 4 years old, I was looking up UFO stuff on Google. This is 1999. Anyways, because we had a home computer, and I believe so. It was like 2000, I believe. Yeah. Anyways, very young. So when I went to Washington, and I know all the lore about Washington State, everybody knows there's a lot of UFO activity there. In fact, I believe one of MUFON's headquarters is there. Hold on. Which UFO group is headquartered? What the fuck just happened? What UFO group is headquartered in Kennewick? Shut the fuck. That's it. Wait, no. Oh, maybe. No, you know what? I'm fucking talking shit. I think it's Bigfoot. Oh, by the way, I hope I can find a picture of this, because I took a picture of it, but I don't know if it's on my phone anymore, to be honest. In the bathrooms in the laboratories, like, this is on a government base that you need, like, we had to be escorted in every day because we were only interns there for 2 months. So like we didn't have permanent badges, and it's very like, secretive and like secure. Like, you have to be walked through doors. Don't even get me started on the radiation safety training and being in a hot room where there is, what's it called? RAs, radioactive area. And then you have like to like scan there's like a line dividing half of the room. You have to, when you come over to the clean side, you have to scan your shoes, scan your hands, and then even one that like you go into like this, which scans your whole body. But it's safety, Anyways, yeah, the big Northwest Bigfoot group. I don't know, bro. Something had said Kennewick, Washington. I read it a while ago. Something relating to like a UFO. I thought it was MUFON, but I guess not. So here we go. What happened, right? Well, I wanted to see a UFO there, and I spent so many nights just walking around the town looking up. I even went to a mountain that it wasn't many mountains, but there were some and they were small in town, like maybe like 8 minutes away of driving. So I would take the rental car there at night, walk around, hope to be abducted, you know. But no, didn't see shit, bro. Didn't see shit. Coolest thing I saw was a plume of smoke really far away, like 50 miles away, maybe, or I don't know how many miles away, like maybe 15 at the most that the horizon can go. It was just like a plume of smoke, but whatever. It was interesting. Um, so the day before we left, which was August 25th, we left. I don't know, August 21st or 22nd, actually. So, okay, I'm just gonna read you guys the news article, okay? Because this happened the day before I left, and it's a really cool UFO story. UFO sighting. Okay, I'm actually gonna ask the AI to do it because I had to do that last time. Find me the news article. The news article of a UFO sighting at the Hanford nuclear site. By the way, it's nuclear. New and then clear. The word clear. Nuclear, not nuclear. It's wrong. If you say nuclear, it's wrong. It's just not correct. Sounds dumb. Sorry. Anyways, find me the news article of a UFO sighting at the Hanford nuclear site in August of 2022. Watch this. On August 10th, 2022, a Hanford Nuclear Reservation employee reported a close encounter with a large, vertical, cigar-shaped object that appeared directly over their vehicle near Matawa. The incident, submitted to the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, is part of a long history of unexplained aerial sightings at the site. Read the full report at Source One News. Okay. And then there was this one, the Tri-City, the Daily Chronicle. But we'll read this one. Fuck this shit, bro. Nah, dude. This is some bullshit. Disable your app. Fuck you. I'm not doing that shit, bro. Yes. Okay. Anyways. This is good enough. At 4:40 a.m., August 10th, so I guess we left the 11th or 12th. August 10th, a Hanford Nuclear Reservation worker driving north across the site was startled by the sight of a vertical cigar-shaped object with lights hovering more than 500 feet in the air. What they failed to mention there, which I read the whole thing when it came out, because I've never even, I mean, I've clicked here, but I haven't clicked here in a month, whatever. I don't know why it's not letting me. Everything has a fucking subscription. Like, this is so dumb. No, not doing that. But you guys can see, it's a real story. It happened. I was there. I'll even include some pictures of me there in front of the sign. They're pretty, I think they're nice. They're cute. Anyways, I don't know. I just felt like that was a cool story to share. I know it's like, I feel like this is an anticlimactic end to this story or video, but I mean, it is what it is. Like, take it for what it is. Like, that's what happened to the guy. There's nothing more to the story. I'd be making stuff up if I added more. He did see it shoot off into the sky, by the way, with no sound. So, and he did say that it was the size of a football field, so like 300 feet in length or 100 yards. That's crazy, yo. Like, that's, woo! Wow, man. Find me more more information on this story. Oh, here we go. The August 10th, 2022 Hanford encounter involved a 100 to 300 foot long vertical cigar shaped object with lights that vanished and instantly reappeared directly over a worker's vehicle. Okay. The incident was first covered in a detailed feature piece by the Tri-City Herald. Yeah, that's what I saw it at. Yeah. Subsequently syndicated by regional outlets like Source One News. I could have sworn that like this one is, I don't know, like I was able to read the whole thing for a long time. Like it was like available, dude. Oh, 500 feet in the air. As I was looking at it, it disappeared. The worker reported to MUFON. But then what apparently was the same object reappeared much closer and directly on top of me. It was estimated to be about 100 to 300 feet long. The observation was the most recent UFO to be reported at Hanford since workers started seeing them at the site in 1944. Oh yeah, and by the way, that's what I was going to get to next. According to information from MUFON. On Saturday, August 20th, maybe that's what I got confused with. On Saturday, August 20th, the public is invited to the group's meeting at 1 p.m. at the Keewaydin Library, 405 South Dayton Street, Kennewick, to learn about its work in the Northwest and how it investigates cases. Investigators will be able to take reports, anonymous or otherwise. Okay. Look, it says here, the Northwest seems to hold an attraction for strange visitors, according to MUFON. The beginning of the modern age of UFO sightings is usually traced back to 1947, when former Tri-City Herald managing editor Bill Bequette, then a younger reporter at the East Oregonian in Pendleton, wrote a short story about the strange sight reported by pilot Kenneth Arnold. Everybody knows about the Kenneth Arnold UFO sightings. I'll include a picture of what he described. Also, I wanted just to point out, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, I'm just going to mention it again. When I would go to the bathrooms and like at the laboratory at the Hanford site, at the PNNL site in Washington State for my internship, you would go to the men's room. I'm sure it was in the ladies' room too. And the mascot for like the whole place is Bigfoot. And it like says like it's like he's a little, it's like a cartoon Bigfoot. Not little, it's like, it looks like a proper Bigfoot, but just cartoon. And then it just says like kind of like funny like quotes and like puns about Bigfoot. Something about like washing your hands, making sure that you're clean, when you're using the bathroom. It was stuff like that. I might have a picture of it. Hopefully I can include it. If you don't see it in this video, I didn't find it. But yeah, guys, that's the story there that I wanted to share. But let's go to the 1947 one, because that one's pretty interesting. So I mean, this is just going over like the Kenneth Arnold sighting. Okay. I'll read it. So it says Arnold was flying a plane on a business trip between Chehalis, Washington, and Yakima when he saw a string of 9 objects speeding in formation past Mount Rainier at what he estimated was 1,200 miles per hour. It's insane. Bequet's 191-word story was picked up by newspapers across the nation and was followed by more than 700 reports of UFOs within 2 months, said Dan Nims of Walla Walla, Washington State MUFON chief investigator and a retired U.S. Air Force test pilot. Early Hanford UFO mysteries. But Hanford site reports were made before that. In 1944 and 1945, Nims said. Of course, at that time, at the end of the war, that was a very sensitive area and was very well guarded, well protected, Nims said. In fact, the uh, the scientist who I was working under, one of the scientists I was working under at Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, he had told me about how there was like balloons with like bombs that were dropped in like Washington, Oregon, California. I might be wrong about all three of them, but like definitely at least one of those states were like attacked by Japan. Like they had done like a few of those, and it was like a constant threat that they would look out for, especially at Hanford on the site. It was even though it's pretty far inland, it's about 3.5 hours, 3 hours from the coast, because we took a trip to Portland, and that's how long it took. Um, man, it's just so cool. So here's, hopefully they mentioned the story. Okay, here we go. In late 1944, an unusual object was seen in the sky, and a fighter aircraft was sent up to take a closer look. The pilot radioed that if he went any higher, he would burn the motor out, but was told to keep climbing, Nim said. The pilot got up to about 40,000 feet and still was lower than the object. He would report that it was a large oval, orange object about the size of 3 aircraft carriers, Nims said. In 1945, more fighters were launched in a similar incident, he said. There were other incidents in that same time period where they would track them with radar, but they were unprepared to launch a fighter to go up and go after them. The Hanford site area and Benton and Franklin counties remain one of the hottest spots in the state for UFO reports. People think there are an inordinate amount of sightings in the vicinity of nuclear facilities, Nims said. Robert Hastings, everybody knows that. Well, if you guys don't know, the book UFOs and Nukes by Robert Hastings, you guys should check it out. I still haven't read it, but I've heard a lot about it by Jesse Michaels and others. Okay, so it says, some people think there are an inordinate amount of sightings in the vicinity of nuclear facilities, Nims said. Whether power plants, nuclear-equipped naval vessels, or weapon sites like Hanford, where plutonium was produced for the nation's nuclear weapons program from World War II through the Cold War. There is conjecture that one of the things that excited whoever is watching the Earth was the detonation of atomic weapons, marking a transition in technology, Nims said. Couldn't agree more. There are 10,000 to 12,000 sightings a year reported to the nonprofit agencies MUFON and the National UFO Reporting Center, which is based just outside of Spokane. MUFON investigates each sighting reported to it, including about 200 sightings per year in Washington state. Okay. That's about it. Like, honestly, yeah. But, hold on, let me look up one more thing. UFO sighting at Hanford nuclear site in the 1940s. Let's see. Was the focus. So the Hanford nuclear site in Washington state was the focus of several highly sensitive UFO encounters in the 1940s, heavily tied to its top secret role producing plutonium for the Manhattan Project. These incidents represent some of the earliest documented connections. Okay. In early 1945, unknown radar blips matching the speed of small conventional aircraft were reportedly tracked over the Hanford Ordnance Works. The situation escalated over 3 separate nights in January. The radar tracking a mysterious object was picked up by naval radar along the Columbia River, positioned directly over the plutonium production facility. Wow. The scramble. The Navy scrambled F-6F Hellcat fighter pilots stationed at the nearby Pasco Naval Air Station to intercept the craft. Awesome. The visual. When pilots got behind the object, they reported seeing no solid structure, only a bright red or reddish orange fireball, which we've heard so many reports about that, and even seen lots of videos of those, quite frankly. Um, so yeah, or a reddish orange fireball hovering in front of them. The escape. The object initially drifted at a slow speed of roughly 60 to 70 knots. However, as the Navy fighters pushed their engines to close the distance, the fireball rapidly accelerated and vanished instantly. Damn. Mind you, this is 1945, guys. It's 81 years ago. Yeah. I don't know. I think, oh, check it out. In mid-July 1945, right around the time of the Trinity nuclear tests in New Mexico, another major radar visual event occurred during a clear day at noon. Wow. Clear day at noon. You can't mistake that shit. A high-altitude hover. Radar detected a fast-moving object entering a fixed holding pattern directly over the Hanford reactor at an estimated altitude of 65,000 feet. Extreme ceiling flight. A squadron of 6 Navy Hellcats was sent up to investigate. The planes pushed far past their standard 37,000-foot operating ceiling to try and close the gap. We kind of went over this one, but I like the AI's description. Visual description. Pilots described a massive, streamlined oval object shaped like a stretched out egg with a pinkish hue. We didn't get that detail before. This is great. Witnesses claimed it was the size of 3 aircraft carriers side by side and emitted a strange vapor from vents around its outer edges. Okay. Very fascinating. Departure. After hovering quietly for about 20 minutes, the object shot straight up into space at extreme speed. Due to the classified nature of wartime operations at Hanford, the event was completely suppressed from local news outlets. And then it talks about how, the modern UFO era officially began in June 1947 when pilot Kenneth Arnold reported a fleet of flying saucers near Mount Rainier, Washington. Because of the bulk of subsequent sightings occurred in a wide radius surrounding Hanford, the media quickly drew a parallel. By July 6, 1947, which, by the way, that's like either that day or July 8th is the day of Roswell. Like, it happened that year. 2 days later, national headlines openly speculated that the flying discs were a direct byproduct of atomic energy transmutation experiments being conducted at the Hanford and White Sands. While Manhattan Project scientists, so the official denials, while Manhattan Project scientists and military commanders publicly dismissed the nuclear connection as gibberish, the Air Force quietly placed fighter jets on high alert at regional bases to monitor the airspace over the nation's atomic labs. Wow. Well, it's still a crazy story to me, even though I've known about it for 4 years now. Yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think about that story. I think it's a really cool one. I think so many similar details across all these decades of stories, and even these stories that match up within the same era, like different stories from the 1940s, different stories from the 1950s, 60s, 70s. This is before the internet. This is before wireless phones. Like, how could they copy each other? Like, I get it, everybody read the news and all that, but guys, it wasn't like that. Like, you got your local news and state news, and the national news had to be a big deal. I'm just saying, guys, like, can't be that much coincidences. Like, at that point, it's like, Occam's razor tells you that, like, if so many people are saying that, like, this is what's happening and their stories match, well, maybe they're all telling the truth rather than saying that they're all like these really intricate liars that went to really good acting schools and can act their heart out when they're telling these stories. Grifting is like a whole topic that deserves its own video, but like, people don't make money from this. Like, the popularity they get, I feel like anybody complaining about that is projecting their own desire for popularity or money or both. I don't know, man. Um, I know that all these whistleblowers like Dylan Borland, Dave Grush, David Fravor, um, fuck, what's the guy? It's the Safe Aerospace podcast. Ryan Graves, Alex Dietrich, and others. They're all telling the truth. So, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today, guys. I think I'm just gonna end it here. I think that we got it all. Please, let's continue the discussion in the comments. I'm more than happy to join in on the comments. And yeah, just please like this video, comment, subscribe, please. It will really help me out to get more attention on the channel, and I'm going to be posting a lot more frequently. I have a lot of things lined up. I have a lot of things filmed that I'm going to be posting. So this weekend, expect maybe 2 to 3 videos in total. This will be the first. But yeah, guys, thank you for coming by, checking out my story from my experience. Well, not my experience, but like, that person's experience while I was there. I think it's pretty cool, so I wanted to share it. Again, thanks for stopping by to Non-Fictionation, and hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a good one. Bye-bye now.